Ability.
The power to do something.
Anything.
See.
Walk.
Speak.
Reach.
Disability.
Many people think disability and they think
Sad.
unfortunate,
Lesser.
powerless.
But those with the disability know that this is a lie.
Living with a disability forces you to be more powerful than almost anyone.
It pushes you beyond your limits.
To overcome what others see as impossible.
And in that sense.
We are unbreakable.
But this isn't something that can be easily understood.
That's why we paired 4 able-bodied individuals.
With 4 disabled individuals.
To see the challenge firsthand.
To understand the strength that it takes.
To experience the world through my eyes.
My name is Erin Crawford. I'm a graphic design student at the University of Iowa. I started dancing at the age of 3 up until I was about 16.
Hi. My name is Sarah Furnish. I have a performance group here in Iowa City called Infinity Dance Company. We use the Danceability dance technique to create inclusive dance for people with and without disabilities.
So we'll start off with action and response. So that's one person will make any action, and then everybody else will respond with any action they want. Go ahead, give it a shot. There we go. Right, good. Nice.
The chair was a surprise. I did not know that I was going to be in a chair. So when it was pulled out and when I was told to sit in it, it was scary because it was more restrictions. And so I had to reevaluate what I was going to do and how I was going to move and how I was going to dance. I really only had like the one arm to use. So when we were making up movements and like doing the different exercises, it was really challenging to find like different things to do with pretty much just one hand.
My name is Leslie O'Leary. I had an accident about 45 years ago. It was an automobile accident. I was traveling down the sand road somewhere between Hills and Iowa City, and I hit another car head on. That just wrecked my whole life.
Then we'll go around the circle. So Erin can go next. She can make any action she wants. And then we can make the action that we want, any way we want.
Oftentimes, people with disabilities are separated. They're in homes with other people with disabilities. They go to work with other people with disabilities. Their activities are with other people with disabilities, which is fine, but also we want a chance to interact with people that aren't exactly the same as us. So a lot of times, society has told us to never mimic a person with a disability. So it can make somebody very uncomfortable to mirror a person with a disability. This is the rule that we've been told. Do not mock a person with a disability. But we use the danceability technique that any movement can be choreography, can be dance. So anything that Leslie does is acceptable movement. Mimicking someone is the highest form of flattery. We're using her as a lead to say, move like me. How often does that ever happen in real society? Almost never, but we want it to be a representation of what we'd like to see in society.
Here we go.
Okay, Mike, blindfolded or not blindfolded?
Oh, since this is just for a demo, let's start them out non-blindfold because I want to show you how to do it. My name is Mike Honick. I am a program coordinator at the Center for Disabilities and Development at the University of Iowa. I'm blind. I have a condition called Leber's congenital amaurosis, which I've had since birth. It's a retinal condition. Today, I'm going to lead Simon through the streets of Iowa City blindfolded. So grip the cane kind of like that with your index finger out.
Okay.
And then as you're walking, you're going to alternate. So you're going to take a step with your left foot and then you're going to arc the cane over to the right.
Okay. My name is Simon Andrew. I'm the assistant to the city manager for the city of Iowa City. And as part of my role with the city manager's office, I am the city's ADA coordinator.
and then you're just going to go back, and you can even kind of watch how I'm doing it. You're just going to kind of step left, arc right, step right, arc left. So that, and the reason for that is you're covering your body when you do that, because if you went like this, and then you took a step with your right foot, you wouldn't have any coverage for what's in front of you. Left, right, yep. Well, I certainly memorize where the streets are located. In terms of walking around with the cane, I mean, there are barriers, like the outside seating that I so much enjoy, also has the gates to protect people enjoying the outside seating. So I hit that, and, certainly light poles and things like that would be in any community. Yeah, so that's the general, that's the technique. And of course, the tricky thing is then, as you close your eyes, then you are trusting your cane to alert you to any sort of whatever is in your path. I think he's ready.
Hi, I'm State Representative Amy Nielsen from House District 77. I thought this project sounded really needed and interesting, and I just felt that it was important to be a part of it so that everyone in the community understands what it's like to be in this community with a disability.
My name's Kyle Spading. I was in a flip-over car accident in July of 2011, and it paralyzed me from the chest down. Prior to that, I had my bachelor's degree from the University of Iowa in health and sports studies, where I played during that time as a tight end on the Iowa football team. When I came back to the university for my master's and completed that, I was in a lot different perspective. I had to use my wheelchair that I drive with my sip and puff straw. Coming back onto campus in that light was very challenging.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good, how are you? Kyle, meet Amy.
Hello.
Amy, meet Kyle.
Nice to meet you.
You too. My initial thought when you rolled up in the chair, it was, you were doing it, you were a good actor. And I was like, it was kind of like, okay, that must be Amy. But I kind of like, wait a second. She doesn't really use that wheelchair, right?
I don't. I got wheeled over here the first time, and I felt this just immense guilt, like someone is wheeling me around in a wheelchair and I could be walking. Once I started powering it by myself, I didn't quite feel as guilty kind of doing this role play. It's a lot harder than I thought. I didn't think about things like the slope in the sidewalk and having to compensate for those. Mm-hmm. Curves are hard. It's a huge learning experience for me. I've never done anything like this before. I imagine that it's really hard more emotionally.
And there is there's a long coping process. Like with mine, obviously, my experiences before as opposed to after injury were just night and day. My body was something that never failed me. I could always fall back on that.
Yeah.
And then my backup plan went kaput. They say 96% of disability is invisible. You can't see it. For the first year of my injury, I was just trying to wake up and feel normal. And now it's kind of reached that point where I don't mind it. It's just normal now.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
have a really positive attitude. I'm sure it took
That's
a lot
helped.
of work for you to get that.
I'm always a kind of a looking forward type of guy. Coach Ferentz was big on that. Man, your biggest opportunities are going to be not how you played last week, but how you respond and come back and play this week.
My name is Jamie Porter. I am a junior at the University of Iowa. I'm from Iowa City, originally here.
He was diagnosed with Prader-Willi when he was a baby. He wasn't able to speak because they have a thicker tongue and a kind of a cleft palate. He can make lots of sounds, but he just can't put the words together.
Wes and I are going to share a meal here at the mill with no verbal communication. My initial thought was I was anxious to see what that experience is going to be like, because, my voice talking something like this I take for granted.
Hi guys, were we ready to order here? Perfect.
I
I've waited on people before who were deaf, or I've never waited on somebody who only communicated via text. When I'm taking their order and I say, you know, what may I get for you today? It's a little uncomfortable at first, waiting for this text. Certainly, it comes with your choice of ranch or blue cheese.
It was against my natural instinct not to talk when I wanted to communicate, but it was easier than what I was expecting.
Chicken sandwich with a side of fries, all the veggies, lettuce, tomato, pickle, onion. And then it was the buffalo chicken wrap here with ranch. And I'm sorry, what was the side? The fries, soup, or salad comes with it. It's just about sensitivity, you know, just because somebody can't communicate the same way that everybody else can doesn't mean that they're, you know, they shouldn't have the greatest service as well. Perfect, guys, I'll get that in for you. Where water's okay for both of you? Great.
Erin was a beautiful dancer, but I see the same type of apprehension sometimes that I had when I first tried the technique, that, oh my gosh, how am I gonna dance in a chair? Am I doing this right?
Before we actually started doing the choreography together, very terrified, because I was like, how am I going to be on sync? But when we actually started dancing together, we were figuring out things together, which made it run more smoothly. Leslie is very sweet and very energetic and just funny. She was making jokes, and I thought that was great. Somebody said, oh, you think Erin is ready to do the choreography? And she was like, oh, I don't know. I thought it was funny.
Did you have fun with it, Erin?
Yeah.
Well, quite frankly, I was pretty nervous. I didn't know exactly what to expect. In some ways, I found that it was less challenging than I thought it was going to be, and part of that was having Mike's help.
I'm impressed that you're taking off with this.
In other ways, it was much more challenging.
So there you go, what'd you hit? No, that's okay.
Yeah, it's the maintaining a straight path.
It is.
I can't imagine doing what we did without having Mike there to guide me through it.
But I don't know if you can sort of feel the sun over your back left shoulder from time to time. But that, and it's
use that to maintain a straight path.
It helps. It makes it interesting when there's no sun. You know, you haven't done this before, but I find that I pick up all sorts of conversations going on the ped, you know, wherever I am. Did you notice somebody was pissed off at something?
Yeah, I did hear that.
I'm not sure what this is, but you're going to have a little obstacle to get around, which is good. There's the railing. Which one's this one?
This is El Patron.
Oh, get a little free plug for El Patron. Excellent tequila. Hustle now. And you're going to hit the ramp here. And of course, the tricky thing is then, you know, as you close your eyes, then you are trusting your cane to alert you to whatever is in your path. The whole idea of having the cane is to build your trust and your skill with using it. And so when you're, you know, as you're walking, so you are able to catch what's in front of you, unless, you know, there are always exceptions, like if there's a barrier that doesn't go all the way to the ground or something like that.
I got to say that the most nerve-wracking piece of it was the crossing of the street.
Well, let's stand here a minute and listen to the traffic patterns.
What I really found fascinating were all the little tips that Mike gave me for helping me understand where I was in my environment.
So right now, did you just hear there's traffic going north and south on Clinton?
Yes.
So we could cross.
And there's a bus stop.
And there's a bus stop to your left. The thing about the buses is that you can't you don't know when they're going to take up. So you don't know if they're waiting at the light for sure or whether it's waiting to pick up for its time point. So we're going to go ahead and cross. Yeah, I might want to step it up.
I can really picture how much training and experience I would need to be able to feel comfortable doing that without help crossing the streets.
Hey Bobby, it's Amy. I'm here for my appointment. Thanks. When I come to Iowa City, a lot of the times I am, going to meetings or things. But one of the things that I thought of that would maybe pose more difficulty than some of the other things I did was getting your hair cut.
Hi, Amy.
Hey, Bobby.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Come on in. My name's Bobby Thompson. I'm the one of the owners of Thompson & Co. Salon and Parlor here in Iowa City. I am a cosmetologist by trade, but I like to call it follicle engineering.
Well, Bobby Thompson has been a friend of mine for many years, and I know him to be very in tune with his community.
Being a people person, what better way to make somebody feel good about themselves than getting a haircut that makes them look great, makes them feel great. All right, so tell me a little bit about what you're liking about your hair.
That it's on my head.
Nice.
Otherwise, I don't like it so much because we're growing it out, so it's driving me crazy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So just pretty much thickness issues and things like that? All right, cool. Let's just keep doing what we're doing. We're going to reshape a little bit today. What if? What if she was in a wheelchair? How would I react to it? How would I respond to it? I think I kind of went on a little bit of an edge, almost. It kind of surprised me how much I still was caught on edge. By making sure that, okay, is she comfortable? Does she have the door open? Is everything accessible for her? Is it going to be, am I going to make a mistake? And when you look for a mistake, that's when you're more prone to make a mistake.
The one burning question that I've been kind of holding on to is if I see someone having trouble as an able-bodied person, do I ask if you need help?
Very good question. I think that was one of the things that I had to get through and work myself through was being comfortable approaching people and being directive right up front. Don't be as nervous or have as much anxiety as you would naturally have.
Okay.
But it's totally normal, and asking questions, curious, genuine questions, is just to break the ice.
Would you like some help? You can either put your hands on my shoulders. So what we do as hairdressers is a very intimate, it's a very close thing. I mean, we're touching somebody's head, we're getting to know them. It's the only profession in my eyes where you have to put a cape around somebody and you have to wash their hair, do their hair, and they are stuck sitting there. You have to stay engaged, they stay engaged. It's the ultimate sign of trust because a bad haircut, everyone sees. You talk about an intimate moment, I mean, I feel like picking somebody up is it's intimate. You're holding them, you're lifting them. They have to trust you. So, I mean, I guess it showed me a sign of trust, but it also made me think of if I hadn't known Amy as well, this could be an awkward situation for that person.
It wasn't awkward at all. Actually, Wes was really nice, and he was a good conversationalist. It was interesting in the sense, again, that the nature of the conversation was different than anything I was used to. Because when I have a conversation with a friend or with you or someone, it's back and forth, instant. But when our conversation, we were able to communicate what we wanted, but it was a bit more deliberate. So I was a little anxious about it, but you know, the experience was really great, and we had a good conversation.
I definitely didn't leave feeling like everything was the same. After the class, I left feeling more like, I don't know, excited that that class exists. Dance is for everyone, and the way that we perceive how a formal dance class would run is a little skewed.
Most people think of dance, they think of everyone in a line looking exactly the same, wearing the exact same thing, being about the exact same size. And we want it to be completely different from that. We want to show that if you're alive, you can dance.
It's really a lot of fun.
Understanding different perspectives is what facilitates better communication and more knowledge. Being able to recognize that all types of movements are valuable, putting them together to make a piece. I feel like it's the most heightened form of creativity. If you're able to include everyone in what you're doing, then I feel like that's like the most creative.
And that's...
Oh, ball? Underground?
Yes.
So when you come across those, Mike, do you, because it'd probably be hard to tell if one door's open or not.
Well,
Do you make it a habit of just going around?
I do usually. There was many years ago, somebody wasn't using their cane very well or whatever, and actually dropped down a manhole cover, or a manhole that it was in. Yeah, that was exciting. You know, part of being a blind traveler is that you find yourself doing a lot of correcting, and the confidence factor is knowing that, you know, I used to be scared to death that I might make a mistake, and once I learned that, you know, it's not about getting there always in the most direct route, but correcting your mistakes and figuring out how to get yourself out of those when they happen.
It was very educational for me. You know, there are many things that I experienced that wouldn't have hit home in the same way just being told them, that actually experiencing it highlights it in a different way. You know, it helps me in my job to be able to understand the challenges that our residents and visitors face when navigating our community. It certainly gave me a small taste of the challenges and that he faces, and that the improvements that we can still make in our community in terms of accessibility.
So my nephew has spinal muscular atrophy. So like I remember sitting at the kitchen table with my mother-in-law, and he had just been diagnosed, and there was a lot of sadness and fear. And my nephew was sitting in his little high chair. He had a sippy cup in front of him. And it was always, with the sippy cup, you know, you had to feed it to him or you had to hold it for him. I'll remember the rest of my life. He grabbed it using his wrists. He grabbed it like this, and he put it up to his mouth and he drank out of it. I remember my mother-in-law cried because it was a sad moment because he couldn't use his hands. But that moment for me was life-changing. That wasn't a challenge for him. It was just a different obstacle. And he dealt with the solution in a different way. I kind of thought of it as a way that some people were born with wheels. Some people are born with legs.
You know, walking down the sidewalk, I take that for granted that I don't have to think about, you know, oh, which arm should I be, you know, and it's as simple as that, like just everything that we take for granted.
Eye-opening. I've always prided myself on, you know, making sure that people were taken care of and that I was always prepared to handle any situation. As prepared as you are, there's always going to be something that you can't account for. Just getting a simple haircut, something that we take for granted, could be a really scary thing. It could be a daunting thing for that person just on the accessibility of getting in to a building, being able to get their hair washed, to be able to sit in a chair, to be able to have a chair moved. It's humbling.
All right, thanks so much. each of you would just sign this for me. Enjoy your day, guys.
Okay. The question is, do you live in a dorm or apartment? I live in an apartment about 3 blocks away from here. Me and 3 of my friends from high school, we live in it. It's a nice apartment, but funny story actually, we weren't able to move in until about a week ago because our apartment had cockroaches at the beginning of August. So yeah, not great, but it's nice. It's a good apartment. So
now that you've heard his voice, what do you think?
he says it sounds awesome and too cool. Thank you. Even from this experience, my attitude or how I think about communication and technology will be different coming in. I will also expect that I'll probably be texting with Wes. I think maybe about the Iowa game tomorrow. I think we're both going to be watching that.
Navigating the world of disability can be challenging.
But it doesn't have to be as difficult as you think.
It's okay to ask questions.
To feel awkward.
To be unsure.
These insecurities are normal, and if anything,
they are a call to learn.
No one has all the answers.
But by seeking out and understanding others' experiences,
we can learn an old skill in a new way.
We can travel familiar paths with a fresh perspective.
We can get answers to the questions that we've been too afraid to ask.
We can find that there are infinite ways to communicate.
And in gaining this insight about each other,
we can overcome anything together.